What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Optimal Power Performance Podcast. My name is AJ Arroyo, and in this video, we are going to be discussing how you can learn how to better deal with negative criticism from both coaches and parents while you're trying to pursue either the swing that you're doing, the type of training that you're doing. If you're somebody out there looking to gain velocity and you're undergoing velocity programs, you're somebody out there learning how to get stronger, doing strength training, and other coaches and parents are telling you shouldn't do XYZ, you need to do it this way. That's what this episode is going to be about, because believe it or not, this is happening all over the place, regardless of your age. Coaches have an ego complex that is extremely difficult to get around. And I know because I've had it in the past, just to be very transparent with you. And it is extremely hard to get around because coaches want to feel like we are doing absolutely everything for this athlete, because most of us are. Most of us come into this game with a really good heart. Like, we're trying our best to change the athletes' lives that we work with. Most people don't realize that those coaches that are hating on your kids because they're doing somebody else's programs, it's because they're so passionate about the thing that they have to give. They're so passionate about trying to actually help your son. They're so passionate about trying to help you as the athlete that it's hard for them to see somebody else's point of view. It's hard for them to see what you're doing may actually work for you in the future, because it's not what they do. It's not how they teach players to get better. It's not what they have done in the past. It's not how they made a career playing baseball if they played professionally and things like that. And so because it goes really against the things that they have done or currently do, they hate it. And when they hate it, they're hating it from a good spot. Most people, okay? Definitely not all. There are some bad apples out there who just don't like, even coaching to begin with. And so when another kid they want to do something else, it's like, I'm already mad. I'm already mad at my life, and I don't like to do this job, but I don't like that you're doing that especially. And so there are some bad apples, but generally speaking, let's just assume that the coach that is in your mind right now with you listening to this podcast, that coach that is in your mind is actually in it for really good reasons. Let's just assume that, okay? Because it's going to help us moving forward. So generally what I try to tell my athletes, especially with the swing that we teach, with how hard we hit the weight room, with the velocity programs that we have, like, we have had a lot of backlash when it comes to other organizations, other coaching staffs, and things like that, because it's generally not the way that they're doing it. We're very progressive. We try to innovate consistently. And so because of that, it kind of goes against some of the older heads that have been around the game for a while. And the ones that haven't, by the way, I should state this, the ones that don't allow it to really get in the way, they've actually come to us and asked questions. And like, we've built amazing relationships with a lot of scouts and older coaches in Arizona, simply because they've been like, hey, this is all new to me. I know this is where the game is headed. Like, can we talk about it? And I love talking to them about it. And so does our staff, because in that moment we realize, like, this person has completely set aside their ego, and all they want to do is learn so that way they can help the athletes. And that's where we're at. And so if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're like, my coach absolutely hates my swing, my coach can't stand me throwing weighted balls, training velocity, my coach doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to go to the weight room and get big, all he wants me to do is run pulls, yada, 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 hear me out. They're probably coming from a really good place. And generally, what I try to tell my athletes to do is to just make them feel like they are really important to your career. Literally. If you can just do that, you don't know how good it makes coaches feel to just know that you care. Most coaches do not make a lot of money. Most coaches grind 24/7, 365 to make a little bit of bread and put a little bit of food on the table in order to help impact and change more lives. That's most coaches. Most coaches are not raking it in, sitting on a pile of money. And so knowing that, it's like they're there for a reason. And when you can make a coach feel like them being there for that reason is worth it, them missing those family dinners, them staying late up programming, writing your programs, them missing family events to try to work with you, when you can make them feel appreciated, you have no idea what that could do for them. Because also, as coaches, loyalty and being consistent is extremely difficult to come by in this game. I can tell you, I started my first lessons were like 2014, 15. I've been coaching for right about a decade. And in that time period, there's a handful of guys off the top of my head that have been consistently loyal since day one, consistent in their training since day one, right? And those handful of guys, most of them play pro ball. Most of them got really far in their career until, they ended up retiring. And most of them got really good results. But it was because they believed. They believed in me. They believed in the process. They were loyal. They came back every off season. And every time they came back, I thought to myself, that's awesome. Not only are you making another investment in me, in my company, in my staff, but you believe that this is where you should be, as you should believe, right? That's how we think, because we've helped athletes get to the next level. Your coach has helped athletes get to the next level in some way or another. And most likely he's there because he just wants to help you. And so when you can approach the situation like, this coach is actually here to help me, instead of this coach hates everything that I do, I think you'll realize it's a little bit easier to get around than you think. Okay, so generally what I ask my guys to do is just make them feel really good about themselves. So whenever they're talking, eye contact, shake your head. Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that. Show them in practice that you hang on every word that they have to say. Now think about it. You practice for a few hours a day. If you're in college, it's a little bit longer. If you're in pro ball, you pretty much kind of practice when you want, unless you're a rookie and trying to work your way up at the system at the beginning. Then you're on a full. It's like you're in school pretty much. You're on a full-time schedule. But once you get high enough in pro ball, like, you're pretty much training when you want. And so knowing that you can choose your training and how you go about your training when you're not with that coach in high school, in college, things like that, that is a lot of leeway for you, okay? Because that 2 hours that you're with the coach, and in those 2 hours, you're only working on hitting with that coach standing right next to you for maybe 30 minutes because he has a million other people to watch, that's not going to really make or break you. What's going to make or break you is your mindset in that moment, and then what you feel and think about yourself and that coach as you walk away from the field. The athlete who goes to the field and feels and thinks, this coach is actually here for me. I don't agree with how he does his hitting. I don't like the drills that he makes us do. But for this next hour, when I'm going through these drills, and usually you're only actually doing drill work for what, a half hour? For the next half hour, when I'm going through these drills that I really don't like to do, I'm just going to show the coach that I want to be there. And I'm going to try to do them the best that I can. The best that I can. It doesn't mean that those drills you have to marry. It doesn't mean that you need to absolutely do those when the coach looks away, okay? It just means that whenever he's watching you and you are in there with your team and your training, you're giving everything you have in the moment. Now, when you walk away, instead of thinking negative about the coach, just think, well, now it's time for me to go work on the drills that I really want to work on. And then you go do that on your own time. And you think about the swing, how you want to think about the swing, and you feel the swing, how you want to feel the swing. And then when it comes game time, you put your money where your mouth is and you show them what you can do. And eventually, you will start doing so well that they will shut their mouths. But if you're the kid that shows up to practice and you can't stand the coach because he is so old school and he doesn't do the swing that you want, and he doesn't do throwing weighted balls is terrible. He hates radar guns and yada, yada, yada. And he makes you run pulls and it's bad for your game. And yes, 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 all that is terrible. And you think about how terrible it is. And you're mad at the coach every time he opens his mouth. And you can't stand it when he makes the lineup. And you just leave the field thinking, this guy sucks. I only got worse today. Guess what? You're right. And if you left the field thinking, okay, I know that he's here for me and I know those drills weren't great, but now I'm going to go work on what I want to do. Now I can get better and I want to go get better doing these things. You're also right. And so knowing that you have all the control should make it so it doesn't really matter what that guy says or thinks or feels about his swing or his philosophies on training, any modality. It doesn't really matter. That doesn't matter. It's you. It's how you think about yourself, how you feel when you walk away from the field, how you feel when you leave the weight room, how you feel when you leave the cages, how you think about yourself when you're sitting there up at night looking at your swing on video, how you think about yourself when you're sitting there up at night trying to watch other pro guys on YouTube and see how they go about it. When you're sitting there thinking about yourself and feeling these feels and thoughts, that is what is going to make or break you. Not the 7 drills he made you do that you absolutely hated at practice. That's not the stuff that's going to make or break you, dude. It's going to be how you think about it. Okay, so I hope that this podcast helps a parent, helps a youth athlete, helps a high school guy, helps a college guy, even the pro guys with the old school coaches and the orgs. I hope that this helps you understand 99% of those coaches are truly there to make an impact in your life. 99% of them want to see you succeed, and 99% of them just don't know what they don't know. So when you bring something to the table, even if you have really good intentions, open dialogue, and you show them a different way that they have not used in the past, that they have not used to get results with people before, that they don't personally agree with because it doesn't align with their philosophy that they've developed over years and years and hundreds of players of working with, you guys are on two different planets with what you believe about the swing or what you believe about the throw or your training or what have you. You can still come together in a training session and just be productive together. He doesn't have to hate you. You don't have to hate him. But a large majority of that is going to depend on how you treat him. In this moment, he's the authority. In this moment, he could dictate the lineup. He could dictate how far you go with that team that you're on. And so in that moment, knowing that, bite the bullet, be the bigger guy, go to the facility, go to the training place, go to the cages, go to the weight room, and think they're there for me. They have good intentions. They're a good person. So I'm just going to do what I need to do today. And I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And then when I leave, if I feel like I need to get something right, I'll go get it right. Because I'm going to leave feeling good about myself, thinking positively, being confident, believing in who I am. The person who doesn't do that, I'm telling you, it'll ruin you. And I know this because it ruined me. I struggled with this all the time. I was very progressive in my training process as an athlete in college and in pro ball because I always felt like I was behind. I was obsessive about absolutely everything. I was studying biomechanics of hitting, throwing, strength training, skill acquisition, physiology, you name it. I was reading a million books. I was listening to a million podcasts, watching a million YouTube videos. I spent all of my time in college doing that. I got by in college because I didn't care about any of my grades. There was no plan B. None of that mattered. All I wanted to do was play ball. So I put everything I had into it. I was obsessive about it. It's why I have this company. It's why I started training people to begin with, because I missed the boat on so many things. And this is one of the big regrets that I have in my career is I let these coaches affect my game so much, and the way that I perceived them and thought about them affected me personally so much that I got in my own damn way because people didn't agree with how I wanted to hit, because people didn't agree with how I wanted to train, and because people didn't like my ideas and philosophies and training tactics that I was trying and testing and figuring out at the time. Who gives a shit? Dude, if I could go back in time and I'd tell myself to stop being a pussy and just go handle my business, know that they're actually out there for me. 99% of them have amazing intentions. And all you have to do is go do what they ask, the best that you possibly can, and then work on yourself when you're not with them and continue to grind and continue to try to be great. And then believe in yourself when you walk away. Don't be mad about the situation. Don't be upset. Don't be a pussy about it. Just go handle your business and do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Believe in yourself every time you show up to the field and enjoy the moment. If I could have just done that, I don't know what would have happened with my career. And so if you're watching this and you're like, man, I've had a pity party for the last season. I've had a pity party since I got on this new team. I've had a pity party for the last 3 years that I played at this high school. It's you. You're the problem. It's you. It's not your coach. I don't care how old school he is. I don't care how much he doesn't like you. I don't care if he is the dumbest coach in the world and he knows absolutely nothing about the swing, the throw, training tactics, nothing. It's you. You control your outcome, your thoughts, your desires, the feels that you do, the way you go about your training process, how you handle yourself, how you carry yourself, how you think about yourself. That is what will get you to the next level. Not the couple hours that you're there with coach doing stuff that you don't really like.